back. You're watching NewsX. My name is Vineet Malhotra. Well, the Supreme Court has released the inquiry report filed by the Delhi High Court Chief Justice Devendra Kumar Upadhyay into the controversy involving High Court Justice Yashwant Varma. In his report, the Delhi High Court Chief Justice said he is of the prima facie opinion that the entire matter warrants a deeper probe. Well, the Supreme Court also released the response of Justice Yashwant Varma, who has denied the allegations and said that it clearly appeared to be a conspiracy to frame and malign him. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court has officially released videos from inside Justice Varma's residence where one can see stacks of Indian currency, 500 rupee notes. Well, we'll talk about this and get our guests also to weigh in on this extremely serious matter. Joining us on the show is Mr. Yogendra Kapoor. He's a senior economist. Mr. A.K. Singh, advocate of the Supreme Court, also joining us on the broadcast. Thank you, gentlemen, for being a part of this conversation. Mr. Singh, I'll begin with you. I hope you can hear me. Mr. Singh, if you're there with us. All right. Mr. Dinesh Jotwani, advocate Supreme Court, also joins us on the show. Mr. Jotwani, thank you for speaking with us. I hope you can hear me, sir.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Well, so this is the case, Mr. Jotwani. There was a fire. It was reported. The fire department showed up. They doused the flames. They stumbled upon a room which had stacks of cash, large stashes of cash. We are not sure how much that money was. It was upwards of 10 crore rupees. It's in double figures is what we are getting to know. This was reported to the higher up. In fact, it went so high up, it reached the Chief Justice of India, Justice Khanna, Chief Justice Khanna, who in fact invoked the collegium into this. They in fact rubbed their heads together. They decided to transfer Justice Varma back to his parent court, which is in Allahabad, until an investigation is concluded. Now, the important point to note here is, sir, that no police inquiry can be commissioned into this. There is no other vertical which can in fact get into probing any Chief Justice or any High Court judge if there is a crime or if there is an impropriety that happens. What do you make of what's happened over here? A lot of people are saying this is perhaps a microcosm of what exactly is wrong with Indian judiciary and the collegium, which in fact is an outdated system of figuring out who the judges are going to be.
Yeah, I agree with this. This is absolutely worrisome, and the law should not restrict us from actually probing further. I know the judges can only be probed through a judicial committee, and which has thankfully been formed of the judges who are outside Delhi. They cannot be influenced. So it is a very good step by the Honorable Supreme Court of India. But at the same time, I think you're right when you say there is a limitation of laws, and especially in investigation. You see, I read the response completely that is given by the judge, and it shows it does shows his defense, but at the same time it also raises many questions that need to be probed, and this can only be seen. It can only be done by an investigation agencies. Perhaps the committee that has been formed to probe, constituting the judges, may have help from the Commissioner of Police. They may have help from other sources, CBI. There may be, requirement of the Department of Financial Services, who takes care of the notes, the currency notes that were there, and what was the numbering on that, because that money trail needs to be seen. The fact that has not been denied so far is that there has been a stash of money found. Now, what Justice Yashwant Varma has said is that this was outside his house. This was something outbound, as he says. But at the same time, the fact is that there has been a money found. It has been video recorded. There are people who are fighting the fire. And where is that money right now? Who has seized that money? Where exactly? What are the numbers on that? How much it is? All that is still not clear from the response. And one thing you would have noted that in the letter that has been written to Chief Justice of India, we it has also been said not to delete any data, or to use the mobile further, or to preserve the data on the laptops, digital data that is there. So all that, what I'm trying to come here is that ultimately this digital evidence needs to be forensically seen, and this can only be seen by investigating agencies. And we have not seen in the report, we haven't seen in the report which investigation agencies. Of course, the name of the honorable judges constituting the committee is there, but who is ultimately going to see from forensic perspective, from investigation perspective? What about CCTVs that could have been there in the common area? If it was some kind of an outbound area, then there has to be some CCTVs footage from last 1 month, 30 days, who was coming in and going, and whether it was locked premises or it was not locked premises. So there are many unanswered questions, I think.
Mr.
And
Jotwani, there is also this big question, what if such stacks of money were found in your house or my house? What if they were found in a government servant's house or a member of parliament's house? They would have been towed away by now and put into jail now, or the ED would have summoned, or the CBI or the police would have taken charge of this entire investigation, because this is illegal wealth. This immunity that the judges are enjoying at this point in time. Of course, there is always a line that the media also draws when you talk about the judiciary, because it is a pillar of hope for a democracy of 1.4 billion people. But the fact of the matter is that there are some anomalies here which definitely need to be addressed. Perhaps this case brings out a system or a systemic change that is urgently required.
yeah, I mean, to some extent, I agree that there has to be an immunity for the judges, because they do day to day, they give judgments, and on criminal cases, and so some kind of immunity in their functioning needs to be there. If there is an order that has been passed, or if there is a judgment or a remark in the court that has been done, there is a fair defense that they should get. But this is a case where stash of money has been found in the premises. So we need, and this is a government bungalow. As you rightly said, it's a government bungalow, and so who is responsible for this? So we need to, somebody needs to answer that. And this is not a judicial function, by the way. I mean, I can understand the immunity with respect to the function that the judge does, and we are all, we constitution has provided that immunity. But this is something going beyond, if even a member of judiciary, he's done some crime, so that will not be saved by the constitutional defense. So from that perspective, I was, in my last show also, I recommended that there has to be an investigation agency
Right, but
forming.
Mr. Jotwani, the question is, who's going to investigate him? Gautam Mukherjee, senior journalist, is also joining us on the broadcast. Gautam, this is a double-edged sword. If the collegium is going to decide what happens to Mr. Verma, and if they come up with a guilty verdict, then perhaps it's all hunky-dory. But if they don't, and they say that, he should be exonerated, it was a conspiracy against them, then obviously the collegium is also going to be put into disrepute. And of course, let's also not forget the recourse that the Supreme Court also took by transferring him back to the Allahabad court. What does this say? That, he's not fit for Delhi High Court, but he's fit regardless of what has happened, regardless of this unproven taint, I'll give him that. He's okay to be in the Allahabad court?
Well, Vineet, I read the first report did indeed say that he'd been transferred back to Allahabad. Then a subsequent report said his transfer was on hold. He was not allowed to take up any cases, and the investigations were to be initiated with 3 judges looking into it. And since then, all the documentation and the videos have been put out in the public domain. So ostensibly, the CJI is doing all he can to try and arrive at guilt or otherwise. and not letting the judge operate as usual, business as usual. But the biggest problem that has arisen is one day after the videos were taken and the fire department said that there were sacks and sacks of cash estimated at 15 crores, the next day it was gone. And the judge himself issued a 6-page denial, said it's a conspiracy. I didn't know anything about this cash. I don't know how it came there or whether it was there at all. When the Chief Justice of the High Court came, we went and looked it over. There was nothing there. Now, the point is, if you tell the police to find who moved the money, they will find these people in a very short while. And if they are asked to find the money and bring it, they will do that as well. Now, I wonder if this investigation is a cover-up, because unless these instructions are given, there is no proof there was any money at all. And that is open to common sense. So what is the judiciary doing, the collegium appointed investigation doing, if it doesn't even try to find the money? So first things first, are they going to issue instructions to the police? Because what happens here, because of various immunities given to judges, the police are hesitant to do things unless they are specifically instructed. Vineet.
All right. Well, Gautam, there is also, this talk which has gotten very, very profound at this point in time, that this is just one judge. There always have been, backdoor murmurs about corruption in the judiciary, and that it's never spoken about openly. It's discussed in meeting rooms, but everybody goes about doing their business. Now, the fact of the matter is that this also connotates another problem, that the rich get their way when it comes to delaying dates or having an urgent hearing at 11 p.m. at night. But it's predominantly the poor, which our country constitutes of, that suffer because of corruption in judiciary. How does this in fact shine a light to that predicament?
Well, it's in a hopeless mess. I mean, right from how many cases are pending, which run into lakhs, if not crores, to the lower judiciary being heavily overburdened, the higher judiciary being a cabal of relatives and friends of the collegium without much regard to merit. It might be said that if you live in a judge's house, you become half a judge. Maybe that is the logic that is being used to select judges. At the same time, the irony is the government of the day pays the salaries, provides the housing, provides the security. In fact, makes it possible. And yet they have little or no say. Once the parliament made a law to make itself the supreme authority on how higher court judges were to be appointed, and the judiciary managed to overturn it. So unless again an attempt was made to amend the law, take it to 2/3 of the states, constitutional amendment, it couldn't be done. And at that point in time, shortly after 2014, when Modi came in, he decided not to proceed with all that, as it would be a controversial thing very early in his career as prime minister. The collegium is, I think, very much due for reform. Self-reform is unlikely to work because it has built itself up over 75 years. And so it'll have to come from the government of the day. Whether they will bite the bullet or not is doubtful. Also because how they've hardly commented on this incident and said, let's leave it to the Supreme Court. The law minister said that. So, I don't think the government is very keen on reforming the judiciary right at this point. Now, as far as whether all of it, from the bottom to the top, is riddled with corruption, hearsay has it, yes, it is. In terms of actual proof, there isn't any, or there's very little. From time to time, an occasional judge does something wrong, and he is mildly censured and sidelined, and that's about it. So we will have to wait and see.
We'll have to wait and see. And Mr. Jotwani, in fact, in 2008, there was a corruption allegation against Justice Nirmal Yadav of the Punjab and Haryana court. It was a mix-up of bribery, something that was supposed to go to Nirmal Yadav, ended up in other judges' house, and that's how, in fact, this entire bribery scandal came about. The Chief Justice of India at that point in time in 2011 sanctioned any inquiry against the judge, and the judge went on to complete their term till 2021, and after retirement only was the CBI allowed to file any charges or take any action against the judge. This seems a little odd to me. This seems that this judge, despite having a very credible charge of bribery against themselves, was able to serve for another 14 years, perhaps with a lot of impunity and perhaps with corruption as well.
Yeah,
how is
that's
that fair?
a fact. There is an indemnity, constitutional indemnity, and perhaps, as I said, rightly so, that the judges get for the function that they do in the judiciary. Now, I understand this is beyond the scope to see whether this money that has come is not the part of the judicial function that they do. And in 2008 also, there was no investigating agency against the Punjab and Haryana High Court judge. So it seems here also. But there is no bar to it. We can have investigating agencies actually look into the charges of corruption and come out with their own report. Maybe that report may be given to the committee that has been formed, the judicial of the judges that have been formed right now. They give a report. These charges are very complex in nature. It requires forensic, it requires retrieval of data, it requires looking back at the judgment, it may require some international, the way the money has come or gone. So it is not an easy thing which the bench of judges would be able to do it. But my contention is, like in 2008, the CBI investigation was only done after the retirement of the judge. So that there is no prohibition. I suppose we can still do it. The Honorable Judges Committee have been formed, and they can actually look into, they can actually take help from the investigating agencies. In fact, if you see, the direction by the Honorable Chief Justice of India has also been to preserve all the electronic evidences, which may include the mobile data or the laptop data or the communication or the CDRs, as they say, what the calls were done during that particular point of time. And that may include a CCTV of that room also where this money was kept. So all that data needs investigation from multiple agencies to help them. Same thing happens with ED, same thing happens with CBI. When they investigate a matter, they have experts, they have IT experts who look into this, they have medical experts to look into this. So somebody who has the knowledge and who has an expertise need to form a team to investigate. And I think in this particular case, looking at the formation of a judicial committee to inquire into the allegation would ultimately need help, would ultimately need an investigating officer to actually give a report on what exactly happened, how much was the cash, and and we have a lot of unanswered question at this moment. Luckily, the report says that no work will be assigned to this
Right, and
particular judge.
Gautam, the problem is that this is obviously going to be decided by judges. There is perhaps no modus operandi to figure out if some eminent people outside of the judiciary could also be a part of this inquiry committee. And this is exactly what the problem with the collegium is. It's judges promoting and protecting other judges. This definitely calls for a big overhaul in the system. And Gautam, there is also this fact that whatever judgments that Justice Varma has presided over in the past, they need to be scrutinized, shouldn't they be?
What happens is the collegium has the logic that if the government has control over how it functions, then the higher judiciary will be compromised. Therefore, they must be their own, if you like, judge and jury. Now, having said that, in this instance, the case is already a foregone conclusion because the judge in question, Varma, has said, what money? Which money? There is no money. And he's written a report to that effect. And they went and checked and there wasn't any money. Between when there was a fire in the outhouse and the next day the money vanished. Who took it? Unless you find the money, where is the case? And if you don't have a case, this will be dismissed. This will, the three judges who have been asked to look into it, they'll come back and say, look, I don't know, there is no prima facie evidence at all. So the question of then looking into his previous judgments and so on does not arise. The thing is, there is a cover-up for sure. But who's going to find it without instructions from the court? This is the Supreme Court involved now, the CJI involved, and three judges who've been appointed. So unless instructions are given to find the money, find who moved it,
money's gone.
Now that presupposes that there was money. Now the judge in question has given it in writing. There was no money. I don't know what money you're talking about. This is a lie, a conspiracy.
No, but Gautam, he's also gone on to say that, this was an open room in which people, even as staff members, would walk in and out of, and he would not have known if there was money. That's exactly what he said.
Well, he's covered all bases, hasn't he? On the one hand, he says, I don't know, it's a conspiracy. On the other hand, he says, this is my outhouse, yes, but there are two entrances, one into the back lane. People can come in and out as without my knowledge.
That has been refuted. That has been refuted, though. But nevertheless, Gautam, we've run out of time. We, of course, will see a lot more noise being made on something that is so controversial, something that is, in fact, to do with one of the pillars of our great Indian democracy. We take a short break. We'll be right back.